Today I'm going to show you a couple of tricks to working with our mission controls, and then I'm also going to show you how to, if you're maybe a beginner, I'm going to show you how to mix some really good color combinations from your basic colors to kind of some sparkles and shimmers. So let me get started here. Okay, the first thing I want to show you, and I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but how to open your gel paints. Okay, so when you get your gel paints, they're going to have that little plastic wrapping. Make sure to take that off. And then when you open them up, they're going to have that cover on them so they don't spill in shipping. What I like to do is I like to take my mixing spatula and just come underneath and just kind of lift that lid up and then just kind of poke down into it, flatten out my spatula, and then just run that right around the top edge. That way it's going to pull all of that top off of there, and then you can just peel that off. Now if there is a little bit of that extra paper around the edge, go ahead and take that off and remove it. But otherwise, you should be able to just put your cap back on, and you should be able to store those just like that, okay? They're not gonna leak on their own, they're not gonna spill like that. Now if you do accidentally tip them on the side, that's where sometimes people can have issues with the product leaking out. Okay? So what actually happens is you start to get that paint down in the threads and then in the threads of the cap. So to keep your products from leaking, you always want to make sure that when you're done using them, grab some polish remover, swipe works as well. You can use your manicure cleanser, but come in to that cap and clean out anything that is in the threads. Okay, that way it's not going to run down the threads when you put the cap back on. So really make sure to come all the way around, clean out the threads on the top, and then also come through and clean off the threads of your jar. Again, this way any of that paint that's down into those threads, if it stays there, then it's just going to start to run down the rest of the jar. Now remember, because these are gels, they're not going to dry in the air. So any of that gel paint that's on those threads, it will continue to run. So making sure that that's all nice and cleaned off, then you can put your cap back on, store them upright, and you won't have any issues with them leaking. Okay, so those are two kind of the main tricks to working with your gel paints. So let me start by showing you some kind of classic mixes. Okay, I'm just going to take some of my polish remover, and I like to have just kind of sitting off to my side, a little bit of that polish remover on a wipe so that I've got something to always clean my painting spatula on. Now we do have a great variety of colors here, but let's start by just mixing a few other basics. So if you're not quite certain how to mix, this is going to help you. Okay? So what I'm going to start with is your three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Basically you can mix any color from those three colors. So red is our power up, yellow is solar, and blue is orbit. So let's start with those three. Just going to grab my mixing tile. When you're working with your gel paints, you want to make sure that if you haven't used them in a little while, you do want to stir them up, because sometimes they can separate just a little bit. I just kind of see a little bit in that red that is just separated a little bit, so I'm just going to come in, just gently stir it. You don't want to whisk any air bubbles into it, but just enough to really make sure that that gel paint is combined and there's nothing separated. Okay. All right, so our three primary colors, again, red, yellow, and blue. So I'm going to take a little bit of each of those on my mixing tile. And again, having that wipe on the side here with a little bit of polish remover on there is going to help me as I go. It's just going to make things a little bit easier. My second color, yellow. Clean off my spatula, and then my blue. Now again, three primary colors are going to give you any color that you want to mix. Okay? But if you start with one color and then go to the next and then go just kind of next to each other. So I'm going to start with a little bit of my red, and I'm going to take a little bit of my blue. You want to do about equal portions, but depending on the color that you're going for, you might have to add more red, more blue, but red and blue together are going to start to give you a purple. Okay, so I'm just going to start to smear those colors together. And again, if you feel like you need to add more red to lighten it up a little bit, blue to darken it up a little bit, go ahead and mix those together. All right, so it looks like I've got a really nice deep violet color here. We're going to leave that one just as it is. Okay, so that is our secondary color. So we had our red and our blue as our primary, and the two mixed together is going to give us our secondary as that purple or violet. Okay, we're going to go to our yellow and blue now. So I'm going to take some of our blue, and then I'm going to take some of our yellow. And again, you guys, the proportions are going to be up to you. Generally, it's about half and half. But if you want a lighter color, add more of the yellow. If you want a darker green, you're going to add more of the blue. Okay, so the yellow and blue are going to combine for that green. And again, in our collection, we do have some of these kind of colors. But if you want more specific and you really want to customize your colors, you can mix and make your own. Okay, so we've got our yellow and blue together to make our green. And then we'll come to our secondary color with our red and our yellow. Now I know that the red is pretty overpowering, so I'm actually going to start with just a little bit of the red, and then I'm going to take more of the yellow for this color. This is going to be our orange. Okay, so again, you can see how strong that red color is, so I might even need to use a little bit more of my yellow. And again, just mixing so that they're nice and smooth. Now, as I'm mixing, you guys can see I'm not kind of bouncing my spatula. I'm really just spreading across my tile. So we've got our orange. I'm going to grab another wipe with a little bit more of our onto the next polish remover, just to make sure that that's nice and clean. Okay. So now we've got our primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. We have our secondary colors, orange, purple, and green. And now at this point, I can really start to kind of customize a little bit more. If I want something a little bit darker, I can add our overdrive, which is our black. Or if I want something more light and more pastel, I can add Fizz. So just depending on what you're looking for is going to be what you're going to add. Okay, so a little bit of white. Let's just mix this in with a little bit of our red to give us more of a pastel or a pink. Just keep mixing. And again, if it's still too dark and you feel like you need a little bit lighter, make sure to clean off your mixing spatula, because especially with the white, you don't want to get those colors in there. So really make sure that your spatula is nice and clean before you go into your white. All right, so now I'm starting to see a really nice pink. Just going to keep smearing this until it comes all together and combined evenly. All right, that looks about right. Now on the opposite end, if you wanted to make something a little bit darker or a little bit richer, you can add the black to it. Now black is very bold, okay, so a little bit goes a long way. So just make sure, just a tiny dab, even that much might be still too much depending on the color you're adding it to. Let's go ahead and add it to, we'll add it to our orange here. Take that right in the middle. So you can see how deep that's going to make it. So even that little tiny bit of black, I think I'm going to add a little bit more of my orange. Okay, so again, you guys, you can customize, you can make these colors exactly whatever tone you want to make them. Use the white to lighten it up for pastels, use black to deepen it up. You can again mix your colors together. Now remember, when you're mixing your colors, if you have those three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, all together, that's gonna make a brown. So if you were gonna take all these colors and mix them together, they're all gonna come together and be some kind of a brown or tan, okay? We'll do that at the very end just to kind of show you how they all come together. But I wanna show you one more thing. We do have our Discovery and our Aura, which is our silver and gold. And I like these when I am wanting a little bit of shimmer to the nail. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of my Aura. I'm gonna make sure that's mixed up really well. And this is our gold. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that, and I'm gonna add that to Let's add that to our purple. If I want a little bit more shimmer to the nail, I can add these. So again, this one is our gold. If you like a little more silver, you could add silver. So you can see that adds just kind of a copper hint. Just a really pretty shimmer. If you want more of a silver shimmer, go ahead and use your Discovery. I'm going to take a good amount of that. Let's just add that to our blue. So this is a really pretty, kind of spacey kind of a blue. So if you're doing those galaxy nails, this is a really pretty combination for that. Okay. So you can see all of our different colors that we've combined. Again, you can customize however you want to. If you want that brown, I'm going to show you all of those colors together, even with the black and white, even with our silver and gold, everything is going to come together as kind of a brown. It's going to have a little bit of that silver and gold shimmer as well. And I think we had a little bit more red to this mix, so you're going to see it's a little bit more kind of a rosy tone rather than that true solid brown. But again, if we were to mix maybe a little bit more yellow in there, maybe a little bit more blue, that would start to give you that really brown tone. So as you're mixing, kind of customize however you like to. So when you're finished mixing, we always have the white mixing jars that you can store your pre-mixed colors in. So if you know one of your clients likes a certain color mix, you can mix a lot of that, and then you always have that on stock for that client so that you're not trying to mix every single time. So you can just scoop all of that up into your mixing jar and you're ready to go for the next time. So hopefully this has shown you some ways to custom mix your Mission Control gel paints, and the possibilities are endless. So just start mixing and see what you like.